Hello to everyone who is watching us, and thank you for joining. And we'll be having a lovely session today. So, Iryna, you've been on one really cool conference that I'm so eager to hear everything about it because you've seen one of my favorite authors in psychology. And please share how it was, where you were, and what were you doing there?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the opportunity to meet one of my favorite people and a huge inspiration and a mentor, Dr. Gabor Maté. Whoever watches my and follows me probably sees lots of videos from him, and you know him from my videos. So it was great opportunity to actually see him in person. And yeah, that's actually why I missed previous Monday. Apologies to you, Petra, and everyone else. I That's one of my issues. I always confuse the time zones, so I did my conversion the wrong way, and that's
It's
how I
good.
missed it.
It's good. We are here. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So yeah, it was a closed event that was specifically for the people who either are currently in the professional training with Dr. Gabor, or people who already finished their training and are just practicing now. And I think there were more than 400 people, so it was quite an unusual setup being in the space with all these therapists and people who are really having these deep conversations nonstop. It was pretty intense. But I think my favorite part about meeting him is actually seeing how truly authentic he is. He talks so much about authenticity, and I was really pleased to see that not only he talks the talk, he walks the walk.
Oh, yeah.
Is completely, my favorite moment was when he was really grumpy and he got on stage looking very grumpy because he was pulled there. He was not planning to be there. And I loved it. He wasn't trying to put on a fake smile. He seemed annoyed, and I loved it. It's like this is a normal human reaction
Mhm.
because he was feeling really sick. He had to cancel his speaking slot on the first day because he lost the voice completely. And he was getting better over the weekend, but still, clearly he was far from his 100%. And when they pulled him on the stage when he was not in the mood, you could see it. And it didn't last, and he recovered. But I just really like to see people being themselves and really showing that it's okay. We have different emotions, different feelings, and it's not that some are bad and some are good. They're all part of our human experience. So that was something that really felt great for me personally.
It's really so nice to hear. What would you say were the main takeaways from this conference?
Hmm.
What
Quite a
resonated with you?
Yeah, quite a few. If I were to talk about a couple of things that I also learned from him, as I said, he was feeling quite unwell, and yet people were chasing him all over the hotel over this 3-day event, asking for pictures, and he would stay and he would take pictures with everyone, and we were more than 400 people, and some people would do it over and over and over again. And at some point, he said something along the lines like, well, a lot of people come, and also people were finding him and asking him questions or trying to have a chat with him, which again, he most of the times entertained. And so then he said, a lot of people come over to me and say, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you, but, and then they go on with whatever they want. And he said, if you're so sorry, then don't bother me. And if you do
Genius.
bother me, then don't be sorry. And again, I thought this is so simple, yet it's absolutely brilliant. And if we only take a moment to pause and ask ourselves, and that was where my thinking took me further in an example, actually, when I was passing by this queue to reach him, And some friends were there and they're like, oh, join in, we'll take a picture. And I joined the queue for a minute and I was standing there. And then I started contemplating, what do I actually want to get out of this? And I think this is, you've been talking a lot about mindfulness, Petra, over the past few days of the week, right? And for me, that was really practicing mindfulness in the moment, saying, hang on a second, everyone is queuing up and I joined the queue, but why? What do I want to get out of it? And then I remembered what he said, and I thought, well, I will be sorry to bother him, so I better not bother him. So it all came together to me when just asking myself, what will I get out of having this picture with him? And, you know, I stepped out of the queue and I said, you know what, I'll leave him a moment of peace, and I don't really need, I had a picture of me when he signed my book kindly, and that was great. And I'm good with that. I don't need to get any opportunities. So I think kind of taking what he said before and also just pausing before doing something and asking myself, what is the reason behind doing something? And I think that would be great to implement more frequently in our life when we're pursuing something, especially when we see others pursuing it. Are we just joining into that pursuit because that's what everyone else is doing? Or is there a particular reason for us personally? And I would love to hear if you have any views on that or any experiences.
Yeah, I think this is like, if everybody's jumping off the bridge, then I should jump also.
That's what my mom used to say, I think.
But I think we are in different stages in our lives. So when we are teenagers, we need to fit in our peer group. So we do what everybody else is doing. Otherwise, we are just cast aside. We are not the part of this large group, and we want to fit in because we are in those years that we need the people around us. But I think when we are older, it's really wise to stop like you did and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Do I really need that? And usually it's no, this is what media wants me to think. And I started to watch one documentary about oh, I'm so bad with names. Edward, I don't know what his last name was. Barn. I send you the whole documentary if you remember. So
I haven't watched it yet.
he was a niece of Sigmund Freud, and he started with all this propaganda style that we are living right now. So he started with we need for the women, like it's cool to smoke, to lit a cigarette, because this is a torch of freedom, you know, and he made it really popular and famous. And also, like before him, people were having like one or two clothes in their drawer, and that was it. They didn't need more, and we don't need so many clothes, like for every occasion you dress or everything new shoes. And he started with this PR campaign that it's cool to be different, it's cool to have something more, it's cool to have a lot of things. And I think we are living now in this society where we think that we need something because we see it on TV or we see it on the I don't know what our friends have, our neighbors have had. For example, back home, if my neighbor got a new, I don't know, car or a fence, then you should have it too, you know? It's like competition, who has it, who have it more. But yeah, like you said, Iryna, it's really good to slow down and think about what do I really need. And I think this is the perfect example. Like, do I really need so many clothes? Like, I'm now for 6 months almost on the road, and I have one luggage with me. And even from that pile of clothes, I don't use all of them.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
And you see later, like you really don't need it. It's nice to have it. It's nice I like to dress differently on occasions, and to express my personality also with clothes sometimes. But do I really need it? No, no.
Yeah. Well, as you said, I think a lot of it is also having access now to social media and comparing ourselves even more to others. And what we see on social media is almost filtered version of other people's life, is what they want to show off, right? No one is going there saying, oh, wow, I failed miserably at this and that. Everyone is going like, oh, I'm the most successful, I've got the best relationship, and so on and so on, you know. And I was thinking about it today, actually, when I was playing a paddle game, and I was thinking there is an option to record a good rally, and I think I was pressing the button after a good point that I won, and I was thinking, I've been playing so horribly today, but if I'm going to share this on social media, it gives an idea that, oh, she played really well, you know. But that was 30 seconds of the 90-minute game, where on average I would say I was playing way worse than I normally do. So this is just also an example of how what we see is not representative. So we compare quite often our worst to other people's best, and then we feel even more lacking, more deficient, if you like, and that all inflates that feeling of lack and shame, and that I need more of something, or I need to be better, and yeah, it's a downhill road, really.
Iryna, thank you for sharing that. This was really inspiring, because I also share, well, like, we are traveling now, and if I see really something nice, I share it, and I don't share everything that wasn't nice before, you know, because in my opinion this is not interesting. You know. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, you are now for quite some time learning and practicing compassionate inquiry,
Yeah.
and you've been on this conference. What is this about?
Okay. So I'm actually graduating in a few days. Well, tomorrow is the last day, because it was a 1 year training and we started September last year. And it's been quite an interesting journey. It's something developed out of Gabor's work, and it's not really a method, it's an approach. So it's something that can be applied along other modalities, and it's something that I use in my personal life. And it's all about compassion and curiosity. It's a great opportunity to explore our subconscious triggers and beliefs that are behind them. So every time that I have a strong reaction to something, and strong reactions we have are never about the present moment. So something gets triggered in us, and it always the very young version of us that gets really reactive. And so whenever we get triggered, whenever we have a very strong reaction, it is a great opportunity actually to get curious. And rather than getting angry or blaming ourselves, we can always, if we are trained in it, do it ourselves, or we can avail help of the professional to explore. And it's been fascinating. So a big part of this 1 year training was actually working through our own issues. And we've come a long way, all of us, I think, in this 1 year program. We were doing weekly practice sessions with each other, and you do look deep and you discover things. And the way we practice is really through a recent situation. So I would come into the session and say, well, this has happened yesterday, and that's how I reacted. And so then we start exploring, what is it really about? And another element of compassionate inquiries that's very specific to this approach is it's really, as the whole work of Dr. Gabor Maté is really about mind and body unity and connection. And so whenever we use this approach, we check in with the body a lot, because every emotion we feel, we can also connect to certain body sensation. When I'm feeling anger, where is that anger in the body? And we are not used to asking these questions in our normal life. After 1 year doing this, it's very natural and automatic for me now. So whenever something is happening emotionally, I can tell you exactly where it is in the body and how I'm experiencing it. But when I start working with people who are not used to it and most of us are quite disconnected from our bodies, and most of the people cannot really say. But I think connecting to the bodies actually becomes easier than identifying emotions. So if I ask a client, a new client, what are you feeling when you're telling me about this? Very often they may not be able to identify the feeling. But if they really take a moment and feel safe enough, and it's all about safety as well, to look inside and notice what's happening in the body, very often they can actually notice there is a tension in my chest, or there is some pain or constriction in my belly, or something else will always be happening. And it's also interesting because we may not have the words for what we're experiencing, because it brings back implicit memories from pre-verbal period when we did not have the words, the vocabulary to describe the experience. But we did have the same body sensations, and the body remembered them, and the body is recreating them. And so it's very, I don't know if that answers the question, but it's just some of idea about compassionate inquiry.
What do you have in your practice with others? What did you find out? What is more difficult to find the sensations we kind of find. We are having troubles maybe more with feelings, but to link those feelings with memories, or to be more compassionate with themselves. What do you think people have bigger difficulties with?
I think that's a really good question, and it may not have a very straightforward answer. I think it does depend on the person. What I can tell you, it's not necessary to actually remember what has happened or recall the actual event, especially as those may date back to first days or weeks or months of life. So there is no way to trace it back. But actually connecting with those body sensations and feelings, and actually feeling them in the present moment, that's when healing happens. And people do resist that, especially when they're new to this kind of work, because it's uncomfortable and it may bring up a whole lot of emotions that they did have to suppress when they first experienced them, because they were not developed yet, right? They were really tiny, and they perhaps did not have an emotional container in the way of having an attuned parent who could have helped them process it. And so it's very scary to bring it up. They've been pushing it back, pushing it down. And now when in this kind of session, you invite them to actually sit with that anger, fear, shame, whatever it might be. And yeah, it's not easy, but and I think that's where safety is so important. Once they feel safe, they feel, I'm not judging of whoever they're working with. There is no judgment. I'm just here with you, for you. And yeah, we're together to feel whatever is coming up for you, and it's fine. It's going to be okay. That's what we need as kids, right? Is for our feelings to be validated. Even if the kid is throwing a tantrum. So, oh, you're angry. So you're naming it, right? And then you're calm with it as a parent or as a therapist. And that sends a message that it's because the kids don't have concept of present, past, future. Everything is in the present. And it feels like this is going to last forever. And an adult or a therapist or a coach now sits there and non-verbally often communicates a message that it's going to be okay. I know it's big. I know it's hard. I know it's a lot. But I'm here with you, and it's temporarily. It's going to end, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. That's why I also started this mindfulness challenge for 30 days, because also in mindfulness, you see that some sounds come and go. Everything is in waves.
Yeah.
So also emotions, they come and they go. Like the night comes and then the day comes and everything is just changing. So also when we start to realize that also all these heavy emotions are just here now, but they will fade away eventually if we don't start to put a lot of stories around it and make a whole drama out of it. And like we used to say, don't make an elephant out of a fly.
Yeah.
So um, I think this is a useful thing that we can start also with it, and it teaches us how to be calm, how to be present, how to deal with our life, because everything is changing. Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about this? Maybe a relatively simple technique or anything that people listening to us can adopt in terms of this mindfulness approach?
Yeah. Like for me, what mindfulness has many terms. So just being present and being aware of something. So it can be following your breath and just be aware of the sensations that you have when you breathe in, breathe out, how the air is perceived on your nostrils, or maybe scanning your body without any judgment or thinking about it. Just go through the body. Oh, I feel tense here. I feel relaxed here. I feel hot. I feel cold. And just go through the body and then later do something with it. Or just listening to the sounds around you and maybe pick 5 sounds, like what do I hear from outside? What sounds do I hear inside? Maybe the air condition or somebody doing something, or I don't know, whatever the sound is, that you just focus on one sound at the moment. Or maybe you're just observing your thoughts. So you're sitting in meditation and just trying to focus on your breath. And then when our thoughts, they just appear. So you just see them like a cloud. They come and they go. But if you start thinking about them, why is this thought here? What does it have to tell me? Then you are just like pulled with it, and you're drowning yourself in this thought. But when you are just observing it, like sitting on the edge of the river and just seeing your thoughts like a river that are passing by, that are floating by, then this is mindfulness. And you can go one step further and you start to observe the observer. So I am here, I'm now focusing on my breath, but who is focusing on this breath? And and then you see that you don't have this concept of self is just a concept. So we don't have boundaries when, okay, the skin is the boundary, the physical boundary, but when you close your eyes and you start to feel the air around you or the clothes on your body, and then seeing who is now feeling this, you cannot locate it. It's not in your brain, it's not in your heart, it's not in your gut. Who is observing it? So this is an interesting practice, like seeing that we as a self are, we cannot like put it in one box and say this is the self. And I think this is the part of mindfulness, that you see that everything is changeable, everything is changing, and also to be present here and now in this moment just with something. And it can be just feeling the clothes on your body, or just feeling the breath, or hearing the sounds, or when you are walking, if you are barefoot walking, what are the sensations under my soles? Like what do I feel when I step? Which muscles do I use when I'm walking? Or or how I call it, like a street mindfulness, when you go maybe for a walk, or go into some new city, and you just observe all the red things that you can see, or all the green things that you can spot. And this is also a way of mindfulness. So we have so many mindfulness trainings, or eating something and you really feel the texture, smell the food, and how does it feel in my mouth. And you can eat one raisin for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're not so reactive, because you know that whatever happens, okay, I'm feeling it right now. And like you said, you are with your emotions. You stay with them and you just experience them. They come and they go. And usually when some emotion come, if it's not like really some deep grief, if somebody dies or something happens, it usually comes and it goes in 90 seconds.
Exactly.
Mm.
Self-regulation, that's what an adult is supposed to be able to do. But in order to get there, we need to be matured to get there.
Yeah,
Either.
I think we need to practice.
Yeah.
It's
Well, look, I think if we did have the ideal upbringing, which probably 99% of people did not, because if you have fully regulated caregivers, they are self-regulated, that's what you learn, that's what you absorb, that's what's ingrained in you. But unfortunately, most of the parents nowadays are not self-regulated, and so they cannot, kids get involved actually, well, drawn into this dynamic, and they end up helping parents regulate, which is completely the wrong way around. And of course, that way they cannot learn to do that themselves. So then we need to grow ourselves and be our own parents and adults. And that's when also therapy is very helpful, or coaching. But yeah, in the end, it's no one's fault, but it is everyone's responsibility to learn to self-regulate, and it really makes a big difference in the experience of one's life.
Oh yeah, it does. And I see it by myself when I started to get hungry, then I'm usually really not too pleasant. But I don't usually I'm not aware of it right in the moment. So I need like a couple of minutes. And when I see my reactions, how do I react to people or something that is not right for me, then I'm like, oh, you're hungry. Just okay. And when I have this awareness, okay, I'm hungry, then it's okay. Then I'm not grumpy anymore because I know this feeling is linked to that, and I don't have to feel like this. But before I realize that, I'm just like, "Ah, everything's bothering me." So
Yeah, I can relate.
yeah, so
Yeah. Well, there was something else that was coming up for me when you were talking before about, the self and being confined or not being confined to the limits of our body. But I'm mindful of time that probably to wrap up for today. Or
yeah. Do you have anything that you want to also address from the conference?
well,
What is
that's what I remembered. If you have another 5 minutes or so, I will
okay?
briefly share the
Yeah.
experience I had there. Was very interesting one with what was the name of it? I think it was called Energetic Attunement Workshop. And it sounds a little bit woo-woo, but and I'm very analytical and down-to-earth person, but I also do believe that there is energy in, and I think there is scientific proof as well now around that. But we did a lot of very interesting exercises, working with another person, where you could basically be in close contact. One of the exercises, you had to mirror the hand movement of the other person, like we were just across from each other and we were moving the hands. And another exercise was coming closer to the person, and the person would have their eyes closed, but you come closer slowly, and you almost feel how they're feeling, what's going on, and then you discuss it with them. And it's fascinating how often you pick up the things that were actually true for them. But the most interesting thing is, I met the lady that I got partnered with for the first time in that workshop, never seen her before. And, we just spent 10, 15 minutes doing these exercises and just mirroring each other and connecting energetically. And it was so fascinating that I knew nothing about her, not even her name. But I felt very close to that person after that. And, we actually started talking after and we connected. But just connecting through the energy, so realizing and experiencing how non-verbal communication is just there when you're in the field of another person, how they feel, how they are, is affecting us, right? But also how we show up is affecting people around us. So we kind of know about it, but that was really a very, very visceral experience for me, which was really interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And Yeah, I believe in that when you enter the room, you can read the room like with whatever you are feeling. So,
Yeah, if
and I think
you're not
also,
disconnected, right? If you feel your body, if you trust your gut feelings, and you can definitely read the room.
and I think I read somewhere, and I think this is true, that people pleasers, we are attuned to other people's how they are feeling, and
Oh yeah.
because we are just reading the nonverbal cues, and we just know when we
Well,
step inside. Yeah, we cannot know, but we can feel it, like if somebody's having hard time or they are happy, or okay, you can sense it, but some people, they just don't get these
some
clues.
people
But
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's an adaptation, and again, something you
Mm,
develop early on in life, right? If you live in a household where the moods are quite unstable and it's pretty chaotic, and you don't know if one of the parents is angry today and is going to act out or whatever the dynamic might be, but if it's chaotic and your survival depends on really walking into that room and assessing, oh, the mood is bad, I better just disappear and they
yeah.
don't see me, and then I'm safe, or oh, it's okay today, it's safe, I can be around. And because
Mm,
it's so linked to survival and it starts at very early age, you become an expert by the time you grow up, of
mhm.
course. So yeah, not a very healthy dynamic afterwards, but
No,
it is
but
a clever
you pick some
survival
skills.
strategy.
You
Yeah,
have some skills that can be helpful in later years.
you can become a therapist.
So true. Thank you, Irina, for sharing all of this, and yeah,
Thank you.
it was lovely to see you again. Mm,
Yeah, likewise. So enjoy your time in Vegas, and we'll speak next Monday.
next Monday, yes. So
All right.
have a good
Bye.
day. Bye.